Hey folks, what's up? Mike here. Just another update on my continuing and ongoing project of installing the Turbo 350 in my 92 244 Volvo. We made quite a bit of progress here, and I came upon some very simple, quick, and easy solutions for coming up with modifying the rear crossmember in order to have it made properly with the Turbo 350. So as in my last video, I kind of thought that I might, kind of cut these down here straight and then have this as a flat, expose the bottom flat part of the cross member and box that in and go through all that mess. And then I just decided, why not simply slot the cross member and slide the plate through? Well, this worked out absolutely perfectly. It was very simple to slot this, even with this lower surface here, create a slot on both sides, and then the flat rectangular plate here, which is 4 by 8 inches, manages to slip right through with no problem. I made everything nice and close and tight, so Mitchell can go ahead and weld this for me. And the nice other thing about it is it's not welded yet, because I want to mount this in the car, and then he's going to help me. We'll center the transmission and I'll get an accurate location for the hole. We'll kind of mock everything together. This will then be marked and then removed and welded, and then that'll be absolutely perfect fit. So that kind of brings us up to date as far as the crossmember goes. I've even made a drawing here which may help some folks, I hope. Hang on a minute. Thing won't lay flat. Okay, here we go. So this is laying underneath the car, looking up, and of course you see we have the pan here, and this is the driver's side. This is the passenger side over here, and over here we have the frame rails, and this is the cross member looking up, and you can see that factory central hole. And these kind of weird areas here is the raised, the humps, if it were, in the cross member, so you can kind of get an idea of orientation. So what we have then is the mount itself is 3 inches wide, and this, I neglected to write the final dimension here to here. Rough measurement under the car was about 3.5 inches or so. But again, I'll give the final dimension when everything is properly located. But as you can see, the 4 by 8 piece of steel here in pink fits absolutely perfectly. It fits exactly between the hump sections of the cross member, and the extension is 3 inches, and the frame rail itself, or the cross member, is 4.5 inches wide. So really, with 3 inches of overhang, or slightly more, 3.5 perhaps, the plate is 3/16 thick. So I'm really thinking that this may suffice without any kind of extra gussets and bracing. So I'll take you under the car here, and I've figured out my shifter linkage, and it appears so far that I was able to reuse the factory shifter linkage and everything. So I'll show you that. Okay, here we are under the car, looking up, laying on the driver's side, looking forward, and as you can see, or I hope you can see, hopefully this camera is gathering enough light here to have a nice picture for you. This is really slick. This is, like, I couldn't believe it worked out this well. What that is, let me reposition here a little bit. Sorry about the shaking. What you see here, this is the factory AW70 shifter arm, and it's in the exact same orientation. The shifter arm itself was pointing straight up, and the Turbo 350, it came with a this is I guess a B&M shifter plate, you know, with all the different holes for universal shifter and all that kind of thing. So what I needed to do was I needed to match the square hole in the end and file open the AW to match. And I took my time and made sure it was going to be a nice snug fit. And sure enough, it fit. It went right on, and everything seemed to work out fine. So the next area of concern was going to be, of course, the connecting shifter arm. And as you probably know, Volvo floor shifters have all kind of really weird dips and bends and stuff in it to get around the all the transmission blumps and bumps. So what I ended up doing was I decided to keep the adjustable end right here and sleeve and lock nut from the original shifter linkage, and I cut it off just behind where the threads stop, because beyond that point it went crazy. It went, you can see all the compound bends this thing makes. It's crazy, and it's just too short anyway. So I decided to make life easier and much simpler. So then what I did was I came back to the stock linkage and removed it, and then right here is where I had a nice long straight section, so I cut it off right here, and I replaced the center part. This, I believe, is like 5/16 steel rod, and I put just a very slight bend in it, maybe 10-degree bend, or maybe a 15 at the most, but a very gentle bend I put in it. And then I tacked everything together and brought it back and installed it in the car and seen how it was going to work. Well, much to my surprise, it was really close. I couldn't believe it. You know, the arm lengths and the geometry between the two was extremely close, although I couldn't get exactly 100% full range of travel. So luckily, since I left my adjuster sleeve on here and plenty of room, I was able to just simply turn the barrel here, and now everything seems to work just fine. So that was a really lucky break. I'm really glad I was able to retain the factory shifter. I'm not a real big fan of aftermarket shifters, especially in foreign cars. I don't know. It just to me it kind of looks out of place. Although I'm sure it's a much better quality piece, and I'm sure it shifts better and all that stuff, and there's no missing gears and so on and so forth. But I really wanted to keep it easy and simple. I wanted it to look as completely stock as possible, and I'm not going to be racing this thing in that, once in a while, of course, but it's not like it's a race car or anything. So it's my daily driver. So low key and low budget was my first priority. So I can't believe how things have worked out favorably so far, especially with the shifter and even the drive shaft. I mean, that saved me some money there too. Just a matter of reusing, mixing and matching factory parts. Now the rest of today, we're going to go ahead and see about bending some 5/16 cooler line for the transmission, and we're going to finalize the rear cross member, and that almost completely bolts up and takes care of the transmission part of the installation. The only thing I've left to worry about is the dipstick tube, and I've done a bit of checking around and stuff, and boy, it's going to be close. I'm really going to be sweating bullets on this one. Hopefully it goes as easily and as simply as these other potential snags have went. There is one other point I've noticed while I'm under here. Oh boy. Okay. Right here. This thing I think is a servo piston, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm not a transmission man, but I think this is for a servo. Anyhow, this thing does contact the transmission tunnel. And this is going to be something, the next time around, it's going to receive a little bit of hammering attention. So I made a drawing up here, and hopefully I'll be able to illustrate a little bit better all these points that you guys have to smash in, so you can avoid a lot of headaches and learn from my mistakes. So we'll check that out next. Okay, here we are at my drawing. Again, the drawing is as you're laying under the car looking up. The driver's side's over here and the passenger side's here. This is the front of the car is this way. And right here I've drawn a picture of that obstruction. I think it's a servo piston. And measured from the edge, the front edge of the crossmember up about 10 inches and then to about a point out 12 inches or so. You want to hammer in the transmission tunnel there to give yourself some clearance. I've also tried to make an ISO drawing, some other way of best illustrating just the points where you have to do the hammering. Of course, we have the 10 to 2 position. This is the 12 o'clock position right here, and kind of take it back since we have a peak transmission down here. Just for orientation purposes, your master cylinders right here. This is standing at the front of the car looking in under the hood. So you have this position right here where you have to beat that in for your clearance for your transmission. Straight across from it, same deal. And here I've tried to illustrate kind of that servo piston stuff I was just talking about right here. And you can kind of see it on an angle here in relation to where the tunnel is. But also take note that on the same side, the outside edge of the tunnel, it would be a wise idea to bash that in too, to give yourself the clearance you need for that dipstick tube. So, I mean, it looks pretty tight for me coming, it'll kind of snake right down this way. But if you beat this in and kind of beat it in the whole way up, kind of give yourself kind of an angled, I don't know, kind of an angled pathway kind of deal, where you can just kind of smash it in. And that would certainly help. And again, when it comes time for me to do this over again when I change engines, I'm certainly going to refer back to my drawings, and I'm going to beat the crap out of the tunnel here so so everything just kind of goes back in with minimal hassles. But anyway, that's pretty much it for now. I'm getting ready to hang my turbo and manifold, and I'm just kind of eyeing this up right now down through here, and you probably can't see it because it's in the dark, but down there is the top of that the access point for the dipstick tube. So again, I'm talking about doing your bashing right in here, and then just kind of work your way up and oh grief, what's that? At an angle. So I plan on bringing it out. And since it's a flexible dipstick tube, I'm going to bolt the top of the dipstick tube right here. Then of course we may run into issues with the downpipe and so forth, but all that stuff's we'll get it ironed out. So anyway, that's just an update, and I'll certainly keep you folks up to date and posted as things progress. Catch you later.